Hey everyone, before we start this episode, I just want to apologize for the late upload here. Had some technical difficulties and my audio in this podcast is like not coming from my microphone. It's coming oddly enough from a different source. So my audio is not the best here. Ben sounds as good as ever, but I just want to apologize for that. We'll be back to our normal quality here in the next episode. Enjoy. Hello and welcome into the Dad Verb Podcast, where we chat about parenting. I'm like fumbling with my words here. We chat about parenting from the lens of a dad. Episode 11, or Yevon, as my oldest would have called it, because he couldn't do his L's, and he replaced them with Y's. We're in episode Yevon, and today it's going to be a little bit of a shorter episode because I'm pressed for time. Boy, am I busy right now. And I'm Andrew, and I'm joined by my co-host, Ben Brown. Ben, how's your week been, man?
Hey, it's been good. We've been doing a little bit of traveling this week with the family. So we spent a couple days visiting family in Virginia. So it took a little road trip up there to see the cousins and sister-in-law and all that stuff. So really great to do that and get out of the house. But I am tired. You don't realize how much even just like a road trip with two young kids takes out of you until you land back at home and realize the absolute disaster that your house is, and the organization and cleaning that we need to do now to get ready to leave again this week to go on another family trip, which is very exciting, but there's a lot happening.
Where are you going?
We're headed to Savannah this weekend.
Savannah, Georgia? Gorgeous, man. So it's been pretty busy for you, man. Moving around, got the kids, toting the kids as well, not just you and the wife.
Oh, a truck bed full of stuff. Yeah,
man,
to leave the house for 3 days, we had a full truck full of stuff.
You know, though, it's
incredible.
It's a road trip, though, so like you're able to bring more stuff than like have it really strategically pack as you would for a flight.
Oh yeah.
So I think it's a little bit better. So how long are these road trips?
You overpack. So we were gone for like 3 or 4 days this last time, and then the next one I think will be 3 nights, 4 days total. But getting prepped for beach, hotel room stays, all that stuff. So we're traveling with all of the things we think will help it be a little bit easier, right? Like slumber pods, travel beds, all that stuff.
Hey,
just to give people their own environment.
Yeah, okay, so for anyone who doesn't know what a slumber pod is, it's basically like this blackout tent that you can put over like a pack and play.
It is awesome.
It is awesome. Now, it is a really cool thing, but if you don't have access to something like that, but you still want some sort of blackout, room for your babies to sleep in, one fun hack. We're just diving into the episode, by the way. One fun hack is bring black garbage bags and like some duct tape. That is like the cheapest hack where you can tape off the windows and just create a black room. And then when you're done with your stay, you just peel it all off and go home. So that's just a fun little hack. The drive itself, how many hours for you?
It was about 5. So straight through it'd be about 5 with stops for food and bathroom breaks and all that stuff.
To Savannah?
6. Oh, to Savannah's only about 4. It's really not that far. It's not bad.
So
pretty straight shot.
I get a lot of questions like, "Hey, man, you've done like videos for like air travel tips. What about like road trip tips?" I think that'd be a fun video to make really, really soon, both for IG Reels or Shorts or just a full YouTube video. What do you like? Do you have any like off the top of your head? You just did it. You're gearing up right now. Like, what is one thing? Just one thing that kind of made your life easier for a road trip? Was there a product or a tactic?
No, not a product in particular, I would say. We try to have activities that are going to keep him busy for a while. Our toddler, he just doesn't want to, be in a seat for that long. So one, we always try to leave around nap time.
Yeah.
Or at least somewhere close to nap time, so he's going to sleep for a little bit. The second one is we keep a bin of toys that's only specifically for road trips.
Really?
So we have like a bin that goes in the car, but the only time those toys come out is when we're in the car driving like a long distance. So like specific coloring books, coloring pads, certain toys he only sees during that time.
Gotcha.
So he's not just constantly exposed to them and he doesn't get bored with them.
Gotcha.
And usually we'll throw something new in there just to spice it up.
Like a tablet? No, okay.
Yeah. So we think we had our first car sickness experience because he was watching a movie and he just exploded in the back of the truck. Yeah, like an hour out from landing at my sister-in-law's house, literally in the middle of nowhere.
Oh no!
I mean,
dude.
it's just tobacco fields and dirt roads in the middle of nowhere, and all of a sudden we just hear splash.
Oh, dude, that's
and I was like, oh no,
dude.
And I just go, he's throwing up, he's throwing up, he's throwing up. I was like, there's nowhere to stop. So we had to pull in like a random driveway, and fortunately I over prepare for things, so I had like trash bags and paper towels under the seat in the back of my truck. So it was literally just like standing on the side of the road, stripping our kid down as 18-wheelers are flying by, and trying to clean the seat out the best we could.
Dad life.
But we survived it. It was good. Got it all washed up, and the truck only smells a little bit now. So yeah.
Dude, we have like this
not great,
unspoken standing agreement where like I deal with the blood, I deal with broken bones. I can take that. Stuff doesn't like really faze me. I poop, pee, or whatever. It's easy. Blowouts. I'll step up. But the puke.
Oh, is that your kryptonite?
That's a hard pill for me to swallow, bro. I struggle with the puke, but don't get me wrong. Like we've had some puke accidents recently. Like they puked up all the mattress. I think I talked about it in a recent.
Said it was on the Newton mattress.
Yeah, on the Newton mattress crib. Like I've plugged it in the past, but like legit, like a week and a half ago, she puked all over the thing. I'm like. But we have to tag team it. My wife will strip her down, get her in the bath. I'll start like stripping off the sheets and like doing all stuff. But I don't like to do it. I'll do it. But I really like it. I start to do like the whole like the gag.
Oh, it's so bad.
I can't. I'm so bad with it.
Man, I gotta say, I was like worse. I think I was worse with my dogs than I was with my kid.
Yeah.
The dog stuff like really, really bothered me when they would get like GI issues and stuff. And it's just because our dogs are also big. Like our dog's like 120 pounds, so he's basically a person.
Yes, there's a lot more.
He gets issues. It's a real problem.
Yes.
But yeah, like a little 30-pound human, like it's gross. But you just sort of do it.
It's your kid, it's just different.
You just kind of do it.
That's fine. Yeah. So but I don't do well with the puke. So that situation that you just laid out, like the full car thing, like that's yet to happen. But we'll knock on some wood. But yeah,
knock over here for you.
It's not fun. But anyway, in this episode we're going to talk again, short episode, but we are going to dive into frustration. When that starts to build, especially as dads who start getting a little bit heated, start losing a little bit of control, how we can keep ourselves in check. I don't know that we have the answers, but we at least wanted to open up the conversation for the broader community so that you realize that you're not alone in this. We're all trying to figure this out, this whole parenting journey. So we'll dive into that in a little bit. But before we do that, I do want to give a shout out to a couple of guys who've had baby. Man, we've just popping out babies, man. Just popping out babies in our group.
Everywhere.
Nick Hicken just had his baby 5 days ago. So a little shortly after we recorded the last podcast, he welcomed his first. His name is Redmond. That is awesome. We just had another one, I think today. If I go back into our Discord here, let me go back a little bit. Nope, that's talking about the 5 S's of sleep that someone brought up. Oh no, there we go. It's D-Boy HHX1. What Ben, do you know his name? I don't know his name.
I don't have a real name.
I don't have real names, but we stick with the AOL names on the Discord. But he just welcomed in his first, so the water broke on Friday apparently. And baby's here now after a little bit of work, 2 daing of work, because I think it was born on Sunday, even though the water broke on Friday. So that's wild. But man, guys, welcoming in babies, it's really, really cool. We've got a guy, I think he's American, an expat living in Germany right now, Mark. But it's just like cool to hear him like kind of gearing up, getting ready to travel, doing the things, and he's chiming in. I think he's an older dad, but man, he's chiming in with a bunch of fun experiences and good tips here and there. So love having him in the group. But yeah, man, it's awesome. Growing. It's awesome.
Yeah, even in real life, man, we've had it just in our lives. We've had 1, 2, 3, four new babies in the last month, maybe month and a half, something like that. Like, I mean, it has just,
Yeah.
it's ratcheted up like crazy. It's kind of, I don't know if it's just that we're at that stage that like everybody's having, a lot of our friends are having their first kid.
Yeah.
Or if it's just like pandemic, people like not
yeah.
knowing what's happening in the world. They're like, well, I guess we're going to have a kid.
Yeah,
Let's do this
exactly.
now before everything completely falls apart.
Right. Exactly.
Who knows?
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it's a part of it. So yeah, dude, it's wild. A bunch of families popping out babies. It's really cool that everyone's growing. And
congratulations to all those new dads, man. It's a journey.
Ben and I are actually going to be meeting for the first time in real life here in like 2 weeks or so.
A couple weeks.
As we go to Las Vegas to scout out baby tech, baby gear, the upcoming stuff for 2023, 2024.
Super excited about that.
So that'll be really fun as we kind of scout out some just strollers and monitors and toys and bath items and just all different types of products in what's called like the juvenile product industry, which is like so weird to think like juvenile products, but like that's just what it is a little bit strange, like that wording, but that's the category it's called. But anyway, we're going to be there. We're going to be having a blast. If you guys have any questions about like, certain brands or products out there, like we're going to be seeing things head on. I think it's industry only. So
yeah, it is. It's closed to the public. So it's industry and media only, which, being part of the sort of Dad Verb universe, right? Where Andrew is considered media.
Yep.
So it'll be super exciting to go see kind of what the future releases are from some of our favorite brands. So I know I'm looking forward to seeing like the stuff from Up-A-Baby and Veer and just to see what kind of iterations and new products they might be coming out with.
Yep.
And stuff that I think is really going to impact, not only the guys in the Discord, but engaged dads the world over. Right?
For sure. It's interesting too because I really look for innovation. Like what's like really pushing the bounds. Like we released like new colors and a new fabric. I'm like, okay, cool.
Like,
but
who cares?
Yeah,
Who
like
cares?
come
It's
on.
the same thing.
What else you got, man? You got like some auto locking brakes or something like that when like you lose control of the stroller. Like what you got? So that's what I'm looking for, and it's interesting because as guys, I feel like that's what we look for.
Yeah.
But
and I want to see the feedback too. I want to see because I feel like we always have something to say. Like everybody you talk to has something to say about their products.
Yeah.
And it's like, how are they getting that customer feedback? Are they making their products better because of what they're hearing?
Right.
And that to me is like, those are like the brands to stick with, the ones who are actually listening and really engaged and figuring out how to make those meaningful changes.
Yeah, 100%. It's so interesting because there's been a ton of innovation in tech with regards to like artificial intelligence, being able to track your baby's metrics and vitals and oxygen and whatever. I always find that stuff pretty intriguing. A lot of people find that completely unnecessary, is gimmicky, whatever. Some people find immense amount of value in that. But what I'm starting to notice is I feel like in a way it's kind of like backtracking, like because there's been so much like, I guess like fear about whether it's like privacy or hacking or like, do you really need this information for a baby? And I feel like there's like this innovation boom, and then like brands like Owlet got like hit with like, like, oh, it's a medical device, and the FDA came down on them. And then like all these like parenting groups are just like, I feel like they've like stifled the innovation and pushing where it can take baby tech, and in favor of just kind of like just dumbing things down a little bit. So that, it's just kind of giving the parents the bare essentials because, like why push the envelope? But I also do want to
push the envelope if you're going to get in trouble, right? Like if you're going to have to basically revert to baseline anyway.
Exactly. And there's also the question of like, well, what is the impact on like the babies? Like are EMFs like, harming my baby's like future, because there just haven't been enough studies on that. So, like I think, as much as tech and artificial intelligence is like moving forward very rapidly at the moment in every other category, baby tech, where it was once kind of booming between like 2017 to like 2021, I feel like, at least just my perspective, it's really like scaled back just to basics, which I mean is good and bad. I feel like, but so I'm curious, are we going to see anything, one thing that's pushing the envelope, something new? I don't know. I don't honestly have my hopes too high, but I'd like to, see something. And I don't even know what that is. I don't know. Like, I can't imagine. Like you can see the resting heart rate in real. I have no idea. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But what sort of innovations, what sort of tech integrations that are within reason, that are safe, that's out there. I don't know. So I'm excited to see what's going on. It'll be fun.
It's going to be really good. So keep an eye out on the Dad Verb Instagram, my Instagram, kind of follow along. We'll be putting up stories, reels, kind of short form content, just showcasing the stuff that we find that seems interesting and hopefully you guys will like too. So should be good. Very excited. And as Andrew said, meeting for the first time actually in person.
Dude, it'll be great.
Seems a little weird to be like 11 episodes into a podcast, right?
Yeah.
We're like, hey, we've actually never met.
I know it's funny. It's funny too because I've actually not met. I've listened to other podcasts and because I'm a bit of a geek in the Pokemon realm, and these guys have been doing podcasts for like years. There's one called Metapod Podcast. They've been doing it for like at least 2 years now. They've still never met in person. So I'm like, that is so interesting how like they're tight, they're buddies, but they've never met in person.
Technology has fundamentally changed how we interact with other people.
Like these parasocial relationships. It's so interesting. But no, we're gonna have the real thing. I'm not being catfished, right? I'm real. You're real. So
I'm a real person. I'm a real boy.
Yeah, there you go. So this is gonna be great to meet each other in person, and I'm always like astonished for like the height because like it's always hard to like grasp someone's like girth and height
from a floating head on the internet.
Right. I'm like, I see you in person, like, damn, you a big dude. You're a big dude. so it'll be fun to actually meet up. But let's go ahead and roll into, I guess, the main topic that we have here. And I guess it's just about like kind of frustration, temper, when that starts to build up. You want to take it away, Ben?
Yeah. So this is so I am, again, as you guys know from the podcast, I have a 2.5-year-old, so deep in the world of toddlerdom. And I think this is something we all deal with, right? Like raising kids is incredibly fulfilling, but it also could be something that raises a lot of frustrations, right? Teaches us where we are deficient in our patience, in where we are lacking in mindfulness. All of that kind of comes to the surface when you start raising kids. So, I think it's really easy to get sucked into these kind of power struggles, these weird power dynamics with your kids where they don't want to listen. You're tired, you're overstimulated, you're frustrated, and all of a sudden, you feel like your blood pressure is going up, and then, you're yelling at your kid, or you're snapping at them, or you're doing something that, almost immediately you feel bad about, right? It's not the way you want to project yourself to your children, right? It's not the experience that you want them to have in your relationship. And so some of the things that, I know my wife and I have been working on and just trying to read about is dealing with these frustrating situations, and what are some, key tools, some ways that we can deal with them better so that we don't get to a point where we're, raising our voice too much, yelling at our kid, potentially causing undue stress, because it never leads to the outcome we want, right? It doesn't make him listen any better. It just makes him want to resist even more, which just adds to frustration. So, I want to kick it over to you, Andrew. When you have those frustrating situations, is there, a particular way that you like to handle them? Is there a method that you use? Is there, do you guys use like a safe word or something?
Right.
I've seen all kinds of stuff, that we've tried or are trying that seem to work. But I'm always interested to hear from other parents how they have gotten through these phases and how they deal with it.
So I want to start by saying that this is a learning experience. Okay, I'm not gonna be a bucket of wisdom. I'm not gonna have all the answers here, and I want this to be an open floor. And like, please, like, use the comment section of the YouTube video, or to like shoot us some messages in the Discord on the Dad Verb content channel, because like we want to hear this. But to answer your question, no, like I'm not good at this. This is still something I'm like learning and I'm working on. When we get like moments of just just built up for a variety of reasons. I can't even like think of an example right now because like, it feels like almost like daily. Like there's just something that just like not sets me off, but just kind of like, oh my gosh, like again, here we go, So I feel like what I used to default to was I tried to get like loud and shut it down, like right off the bat. I'm not didn't get like physical spanking or anything like that. I don't like believe that actually has any sort of efficacy. I think it doesn't in the short term. I think in the long term it has very negative effects. So that's one thing I will say. Like I don't like lay a hand on my kids. I used to get like loud, and I would just be like, no, like it ends right now. Get over there. Stop. I would like do that kind of thing. That's how I default to, because that's all I know.
The sort of like high demandingness, right? Like
exactly.
Listen, respect what I say.
Yeah.
I'm the parent. You're the child. Know your place.
Exactly. And it totally worked. It totally worked.
But it works so well.
Sometimes. But then I realized like, okay, this is it just like as they get older, like it just like the tension like builds even more. So just some random small things that I've done. I'll just try to list them off the top of my head. One is just like take a deep breath and walk away, and then like think about the situation, like take it in. And I would literally just like check out. I'm like, I would basically just stay here for a moment. I'll be back. And I would just like literally just take 5 minutes and just like think about it and just like absorb. Yeah. And then before, I would get loud or like have a teaching moment that is basically blown because I blew it because I approached that completely wrong or inappropriately. So I would just like breathe, think about it, remove myself from the situation or remove them from the situation. Like here, just like, go to your room for a second. We'll talk about this. Like that's it. Just keeping it really simple. Right. I don't know if that's right or wrong, but I would like thinking, like basically creating space between the instance or like, the situation is, and I guess the teaching moment. I think having that space, I think is, at least for me, important. So that's one thing. I'm sorry, did you want to chime in?
No, I think that's one of the most important things that we've learned too, right, is I think there's two things. I think one, creating, like, let's say you get into a situation where you feel the power dynamic, the power struggle happening. You want your kid to do something, or I'll give you an example. I think we may have talked about this on a previous episode, right? Like your kid wants something out of the pantry, and you're literally making dinner. I am making them food, and all of a sudden they want to go eat something, right? My default is I am making something for you. I need you to not go eat something out of the pantry. And then it becomes this like argument, this push-pull. And you feel the tensions going up, kids starting to throw a tantrum. They're starting to get really, really upset.
Yeah.
And by taking that breath, taking that minute and going, okay, I just need a second.
Yeah.
And considering it, you start to put the situation into context and say, okay, maybe my kid's not asking for candy. Maybe they're asking for fruit. Maybe they're asking for, a piece of bread or something, like something that's not terrible. Is it really that big of a deal? It feels like it in the moment because there's like this defiance and what feels like this sort of perceived lack of respect from your children, which I think as dads, a lot of us really struggle with. Is like we need to be respected by our kids. But by taking that moment and sort of letting your mind wrap around the situation, you're then able to see like, okay, is this really going to be something that like long term is going to affect them, that is going to damage their health in any way? Realistically, no. And is it setting them up for bad behavior in the future? Probably not, because the likely thing is they're not going to remember this in 20 minutes anyways. Yeah,
I think for us it's kind of like, okay, they are going to learn that if they do A, they will always get B, because they know, now they've found the system. I don't think that's always the case. Like the case that you just laid out, for me, I know that what I probably would have done is like, hey, bud, dinner's going to be ready really, really soon. Trust me, we'll talk about it. You can have something, okay? That's kind of like me. Like, hey, why don't you go over there? Things are going to be ready really soon, okay? And then when it comes, it's like, okay, so here's the food. and this is what you wanted, right? And I would like show him like, this is what you wanted, right? Like, yeah, that's what I wanted. Awesome. You can totally have that with your dinner. Just have a few bites of this. I would kind of just have like this negotiating type thing.
Yeah.
And it usually works out with my kids because I'm not going to just like straight up like, no, you can't have like the nerds candy. Like, no,
Right.
F that. Like, no.
Right.
I'm like, if you want it, you want it. Like, I don't care. Like, sure. I mean, I just, but like, but I think if you just outright shut it down, it's just like, I think it's okay to let them have it. But I think it's okay to like, I don't know, I find that like negotiating and just having, well, not negotiating, but just like, hey, like a tit for tat kind of a thing.
It's a compromise.
Yeah, it's a
right?
compromise.
Like it's saying, I'm not placing a stigma on this thing. I'm not saying that your wants are completely wrong.
Right.
I should discount them, right? So I'm saying I'm still listening to you as your parent.
Yeah.
But I still have to set some boundaries in place
That.
that say, here's the thing I made for you. I would appreciate it if you could do this, this, and this. You can also have this with your dinner.
Right, exactly.
So it doesn't become like a special thing that like, oh, now it's placed on a pedestal. Now it's just, it's just a thing that can happen with my dinner, or it doesn't have to.
Yeah. Now the thing that I feel like a lot of parents will probably really like want to know is, and this is something that again, I don't have the answers to, is like, okay, you do the negotiation, like, okay, but you can totally have it. But first, like, we need to have some of our dinner, eat some of that chicken, some of the rice, and you can definitely have it here. I'm going to set it right here. It's all yours, ready to go. Okay. Like, usually for my kids, it's like worked almost 100% of the time because it's, you know, like, sure, they've wanted candy or chocolate or whatever. I'm like, I'm not going to shut that down. Like, sure, I mean, I was a kid who wanted candy too. And guess what? I got it. And I don't know, everything's fine. So I'll cave, quote unquote, right? It's fine. But it's when it's like, no, I don't want to eat that. I only want to eat this. And the tantrum, like the real like behavioral problem happens. Like, what is that solution? That, to be honest, I don't know that I don't know because I haven't had that experience yet. But just a couple the ways that I would try to approach it is, again, not to shout out and get bigger in front of them and start like, you're like, yo, you want to get big? I can get bigger. You know, that I would try to do the opposite. If I, like, one tactic that I know is actually helpful is to first just take a knee, just like get down on their level and talk at their level, make eye contact, as opposed to like you being this demonstrative figure that looks down upon. Take a knee and get on their level, which I found that to be very effective. And then do the opposite of raising your voice. Whispers, and it actually grasps their attention, and they actually listen. They lean in, right? And it's like, hey, bud, okay, so you can totally have this, okay? But we cannot, like, and then you start to like, you know, again, reiterate that, but just at a much, you know, at their level. And I think that makes an immense amount of difference. But then also some of the wording is, I guess, to empathize as well. Like one thing that I learned, I think it was from like Dr. Becky, right? She did like this reel a long time ago. I don't want to butcher it, but like when a kid gives you like, they're super frustrated because they can't like put the freaking straw into the Capri Sun.
Straw in the juice.
They're so frustrated, right?
So mad.
And they give it to you. They're like, Mom, you do it. And then you poke the straw through and you give it back. Okay, cool, it's done. As opposed to like doing the solution and doing it there. One strategy that I remember hearing was take the straw and the juice bag or the Capri Sun, right? And then like in a way re-simulate like the frustration of like you trying to put it in and be like, this is hard. And then close your eyes, take a deep breath, keep trying. Okay, I got this. And then like put the straw through, like, I got it. Because that way, it's like you're obviously acting, you know, you have to like do the whole bit. But what you're doing is you're showing them how to cope with anger and how to cope with frustration yourself. And you have to, it's like you are now modeling action. And that's a big part of it. Us as parents, they're constantly observing what we do and how we react to certain situations. And we have to try to consciously be that model of like how to approach, you know, the frustration of getting a straw into a cup, how we approach the frustration of not getting this thing. And if we can appropriately try to model that, they in turn, from a behavioral standpoint, not always, but in a lot of cases, will start to emulate those actions because we do. Now, if you have trouble trying to do those things and take a deep breath yourself, that's when you default to what I initially do. Remove yourself. Think about how you're going to approach this and then do it. Sorry, I ranted
And
there.
I think no, that's great. I think what you made was probably the biggest key point of this whole conversation, right? Is modeling the behavior.
Yeah.
So the idea that when your kid is frustrated, one, they have zero impulse control until I think it's like 7 years old when they start to develop this understanding that I can control what I do, how I do it, my emotions, all of that, right? But up until that point, they have zero control. So they're just going to exhibit whatever they're feeling on the surface at all times. One of the things we found that works really well for our son, and this sounds, like, kind of crunchy hippie stuff, but one of the things we found works really, really well, and this comes from just like mindfulness practice, right, is learning how to focus on your breathing, because the breath controls the mind.
Yeah.
And the better you can control your breathing, the more you can say, all right, I'm going to slow down for a second. I'm going to slow my breathing down. The better you are able to return to baseline and think more logically. Now, 2-year-olds are not logical, but
Yeah.
by modeling that type of behavior, what we found with our son is I've actually caught him where, we, again, take a knee, get on their level, say, okay, I understand you're really frustrated. It seems like you're really angry or like you're having some really big feelings. Can you breathe with me? Let's take a couple of deep breaths together, because we're both getting really frustrated with each other and we're not finding a solution. So let's take a breath. So we'll sit there and close our eyes and take a couple of big, deep breaths. And then when we're done, we'll look at each other and I say, okay, do you feel better? And he's usually like, yeah, I feel a little bit better. Okay, all right, let's try and talk about this again.
Right.
And then we'll try having the conversation again. But I say that to show that, like, even our son, at times what I've found is by doing that repeatedly and consistently, if he's really upset about something, like let's say he's either throwing a tantrum or he gets hurt and we're trying to figure out what happened, as you kind of go through that same pattern where you lower your voice, you get on his level, okay, let's take some deep breaths, let's figure this out, let's talk this through, and you can help me figure out what's going on and how we can resolve the issue and how I can help you. It's easier for him to get to that point where you hear him trying to breathe deeply and calm himself down.
That's cool, man.
So he's starting to learn that already, and it's simply because we got to a point where like none of this is working. Like I can't yell my way through, because I mean it's like a drug. It's it's like you yell once and like it works a little bit, and then you got to yell a little bit more to get it to work next time. Then yell a little bit more.
I mean those are short term,
screaming all the time.
Those are short term effects. There is It works, but in the long term, it's actually it's not going to yield the best results.
Yeah. So I know we're coming up on time. So if we wanted to kind of reiterate, I would say, you're not alone. If you're frustrated, if you feel like you're getting angry with your kids, they are frustrating tiny people because they have no idea how to control themselves and they don't think logically.
Yeah.
But I would say, some of the best things that have helped me are, just mindfulness practice. So practicing my breathing, knowing how to read my own emotions and say, when am I getting frustrated and upset, and how can I model a good way to deal with that? 2, like you said, get on their level, talk to them eye to eye. 3, that sort of context of the situation, right? Like look at it from a big picture aspect. Is it really that big of a deal that they're doing X, Y, or Z, right? Is it dangerous? Are they going to get hurt? Are they in a position where they are, not safe in some way? And if the answer is no, then it may not be such a big deal. It may just be your emotions getting the better of you. Any other ones you want to add in there?
The one thing that pops into my head is when you kind of take the knee and you start initially having that conversation with them, I think and I think we already covered off on this, but empathizing with them and saying like, boy, yeah, like I would love to have that candy too. You want that candy, huh? I think I'd love that too. And then, at least having as opposed to having the first words be like, you're not going to get it until you eat this instead.
Yeah.
Okay. Look at me. Okay. That is not, those are 2 very different approaches. And I get that the first approach is kind of like, that's a fruit. That's not going to freaking work, you gentle parenting, mushy piece of shit. That's not.
It sounds like it won't work.
It sounds like it won't work, but like you are doing way more for them mentally. And again, it doesn't always work, man. I mean, we get frustrated. It's 4 p.m. We've had a long freaking grind. We've worked all day. Like, I don't want to do this, but it works much better than you may realize, and it's doing a lot more for them from a developmental standpoint. And there's one more other thing that I did want to point out, but if you wanted to, I wasn't sure if you wanted to chat to say something.
No,
first.
Please go ahead.
Okay, so like there's one Instagram thing that my wife sent me, and it was really cool. I think it's actually from Big Little Feelings, and it basically says when you get really frustrated with your kids, but you voice that to them, it's they can pick up that they are a burden, that they are annoying, right? Yeah. And so when you get frustrated with them, you say like, oh, you did this again, like they still love you, but they start to love themselves less, if that makes any sense.
Which is such a heartbreaking thing to think about. Like the way you speak to your child may cause them to be less confident in themselves, be less resilient, to love themselves less than they deserve to.
And in the long run, they will develop a tendency to not display their feeling or discuss their feelings out openly. They'll start to hold in frustrations more, and there will be long-term effects, all because that you told them, these toddlers, that they are they're just annoying again, that they can't do it right anymore, that they just won't eat the right thing. It's like, oh, of course you won't eat, it's like in your head, it's like you don't understand that concept, right? Like you don't get it, you're little, but they do. And like I said before, like they still love you, but they'll love themselves less. And there are long-term impacts to that. And I want to I wish I could find it. But anyway, yeah, it just the long-term effects are like not just them like holding their feelings in and all that, but letting that build up and then and having negative mental health impacts and all that. It has much more ramifications than we may realize. So they don't want to be a burden to others as they get older. When it comes to maybe work in a professional environment. Mm-hmm. I guess I have this a little bit. They won't speak up, because they feel like they're going to be a burden and trouble people and inconvenience them. Because they did it as toddlers and their parents got pissed at them too. I mean, that correlation sounds like really weird, but like it's a very real correlation that you need to be cognizant of.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the things you say to them now become their inner voice in the future, right? That's the voice that talks to you in your head that says, good, bad, or indifferent. That's the voice you're going to hear. Right. It might be your own voice, but it has been developed over the years from what people have said to you, the experiences that you've had, and a big part of that is this sort of early developmental phase.
Right.
So I know one resource you mentioned that is really good and has some really good content, the Instagram channel Big Little Feelings. Mm-hmm. That's been a huge help for our family just to understand and put things in perspective. I know some of the things that were really helpful for me personally. Again, this sounds a little, crunchy nuts and berries, but, understanding or getting a very basic handle on what they call mindfulness practice. Uh-huh. So understanding how to be in the present moment, understanding what your relationship to your emotions is. Mm-hmm. Is incredibly important because you start to see it a little more objectively. Mm-hmm. To say, okay, you can talk yourself through in your head of why am I feeling this way? What's driving this emotion? What's driving this frustration? To start, moving yourself to a place where your emotions are not dictating how you react to a situation. You are able to dictate your reaction regardless of your emotions. Mm-hmm. So really, really important. There's lots of information out there about, mindfulness practices, breathing techniques, all of that. All great tools to help anybody out there that might be dealing with a lot of frustration in their lives, especially when it comes to their kids.
All things that I'm not good at, and I admittedly have a lot of work to do. Luckily, I did find this thing. Maybe this can be the final note here, but this is taken from Big Little Feelings. This isn't from Andrew, Dad Verb, Ben. This is from Big Little Feelings. Quote, So the best thing we can do is stay with our kids when they're upset. Show them that they're not too much for us. We can handle all of their feelings. People who love you won't leave you when you've made a mistake or you're having a hard time. You're not damaged or, quote, bad. You're human. And when we do this, we actually teach them, 1, how to handle their own feelings, 2, how to solve problems, and 3, how to show up for themselves and others in hard times with love and support. So there you go, man.
Yeah,
don't
perfect way to wrap it up.
Don't let them feel like they're too much to handle. They're not. We can handle it, but make sure that the right emotions, that the right messaging is going to be across. That's through action. That's through words. They can pick up on subtle things. So there you have it, guys. Thank you guys for listening. Again, we'd appreciate any sort of reviews on Apple Podcast, Spotify Podcast, Google Podcast, and tune into the YouTube channel. We're getting steadily, a couple subscribers here and there pop in. It's great. Love it. Love that you guys are tuning in. But that if you want the video version of this podcast, you'll find us at the Dad Verb Podcast on YouTube. Again, that is separate from the Dad Verb YouTube channel. Thank you for joining us, chatting fatherhood, and we'll catch you in the next one. That should be episode 12. Peace.